Hello, today I'm presenting the activities for the final task. These two activities are based on the text that I work with on the first unit of this course. It's an article from Bertrand Russell called On Denoting, and these activities will cover two basic notions of that article, which are description and acquaintance. These are the words that we want with this activity to teach to the students, and these are notions that pertain to the area of philosophy, and therefore this is a class designed for a level of bachillerato first in the subject of philosophy. And of course we're gonna take into account that the average level of students in English will correspond to that of the B1 approximately, which means they gonna start using the language on their own initiative, which is not only under very specific instructions, but also we're gonna encourage them to use them, make a free use of the language. So this said, let's start explaining these activities. The goal of the both activities, the goal of them is to teach vocabulary, of course specific vocabulary, in this case vocabulary of theory of knowledge in philosophy. We teach vocabulary based on the acquisition of synonymic expressions. So we're not teaching students just a list. We are not providing them with a list of synonyms they have to remember, so to speak, but we rather want they to learn synonymic expressions, and that's where the other element of the activity appears, which is the grammar. We're gonna help them through the vocabulary to learn some grammar, but it's gonna be grammar in use, meaning we are not teaching them specific rules of grammar, as we don't want them to memorize specific vocabulary words, but we're gonna get them used to recognize some basic grammar patterns of the English language. That's why the first activity starts by giving them a file card. We split the class into pairs and following an ABAB format. Each pair is given one word, either one of the two words that we want to teach them. One is description, the other one, so for the group A, the groups A are given description, the groups B are given acquaintance. And based on that, what they are carrying out is a search in a twofold aspect. We are activating the previous knowledge, so they have to find synonyms of their word, meaning acquaintance or knowledge, and they can pull out any expression they remember from the previous knowledge in English. But also they have to complete the card by listing expressions, new expressions that they are finding on the dictionary. They are working with word reference. Perhaps we can suggest them another dictionary, but just to give them more clear instructions, let's limit ourselves to the use of word reference. So they have to search for synonyms and also synonymic expressions using the forum of the dictionary, which is a very interesting thing. This is a collaborative activity in which students they start from their own initiative to remember what we already know and to accomplish their own search on the internet. So for the result of the first activity, it's gonna be they complete the card by distinguish which the synonymical expression they found, whether it is working as a noun mainly in the sentence, or is more like a verb or an adjective. And based on that descriptions, again, that's gonna help them to recognize grammar functions of the language, but not grammar rules. Once they list down all their synonymic expressions again, they're gonna define the word. So the definition they learn is the definition they found on their own, according to their own search. In this process, um, the teacher works as a facilitator. Okay, just that, because but the entire class, the entire search, is gonna be a work that comes out of the students. The second words is the second part, the second activity is just continuing the first one, and what students have to do now is interchange their cards, and based on that they're gonna do it the other way around. They already have the list, they already have the definition, and based on that they're gonna search on the internet. Excuse me, I forgot to mention that they are also contrasting in the first activity with an encyclopedia, which is another kind of dictionary, and we just give them that option, that step on the activity, so they can contrast the definition and also get used to work with a different kind of dictionary. So again, going back to the second activity, they're gonna accomplishing it the other way around, meaning they already have the definition, they have just to find a text that adjusts itself to the requirements of that definition. The definition they have is the work of the other pair, meaning the A groups, they have the B group definition, but they get it in such a way that they should be capable to find a text on their own. It can be the text of their choosing, they are free, it's an open ended activity. They only have to be capable to demonstrate why the definition they have on the card correspond to the kind of text. And that way the vocabulary and grammar purpose of the text is connected to the ability of the students to recognize and to deal with different kind of text, authentic text in English. After this description, I will now to point on some specifics of the activities. I would like to talk about their purpose, although I already say something about that, but I would like to be more specific. The structure, the innovation, some difficulties in the delivery that I thought about them, and perhaps some words about the assessment, but that shouldn't take me too much time. Well, the purpose, as I already advanced, is to teach terminology, vocabulary, but in a very practical sense of including some grammar skills, and I would like to emphasize that. When I say that my intention is to teach them vocabulary, I am keeping in mind that it is about to teach them not contents, not mere information, but help students to develop their competences. And that's where the role of teaching vocabulary in English and some grammar capabilities appears. Which means we want to develop their sociolinguistic competence, of course, and in addition to them, also the competence of learn to learn. Students, they are the responsible of their own search, so they have to manage themselves by working with their peer, with their class, and perhaps at the end of the activity, which class debate with the instructor in which they share their results. This activity encourages also the competence of the initiative and the sense of the entrepreneurship. Also the social and civic competences, of course, they have to not divide because the instructions are quite clear, but they have to take into consideration they are working with someone else, and also managing that, balancing that factor that each person may have some different preference, some different learning skills perhaps, and that's all include on the global purpose of teaching specific philosophical vocabulary. Also the structure of these activities, well, as I mentioned before, they are interconnected. There is a deep interconnection. The second is just a continuation in such a way that both activity can correspond of two different class times or in just one single session. That depends on the decision of the instructor. But what I would like to mention is that I was concentrating myself in making the first one as a kind of scaffold for the next one, because at least in terms of developing the reading skills, meaning the vocabulary and the grammar put in practice into the main or global goal of making students better readers in English, meaning better improving their comprehensive skills, the reading comprehension skills. And from this outlook, the first activity is clearly a scaffold step, which is just gathering a series of words, verbal expressions, examples in use that they can apply in the form of finding text, recognizing text, and classifying text. In that way, there is this structurations. There is the step one, getting materials, getting used to work with the tools that gonna help them in the improvement of their comprehension, which are the encyclopedia and the dictionary. And that's why that's where the structuration of the activities lies. I think these are innovative activities because they are open-ended. Their focus is the product the students get. These are also collaborative activities, in which also the sense of the activities is student-based. The class, the protagonism in the class relies on students' actions and not on the instructors giving them information, talking constantly. Rather, the instructor is going to be just the facilitators of the students' performance. These also keep the motivation because they are constantly responsible of their product, of what they learn, because let's keep in mind that the definition they have, definition they will learn, is the definition they found. Finally, some difficulties of the delivery. These activities assumes that students, they are working with tablets or smartphones, and that can represent some problems because some schools they don't allow students to use their smartphones. Ideally, this should be a class in which on the classroom they have a drawer with tablets they can pull out and work with on class. But well, that's some problems that one has to manage, and I know that can be difficult. It's quite dependent on the equipment of the schools. I have to recognize that. And finally, just a few words to the assessment. This is designed to be on the context of a global unit of theories of knowledge. So the assessment would be basically consist of a complete or an incomplete, and it's gonna be really easy to check for the instructor because it's just checking that students are concentrated in their own work. The activity is complete, not only because they fill, not only after they fill out this card, but also if instructor checks that they are really working in what they are working. So the assessment would be just complete or incomplete, satisfactory, student works in class or not. But it's the product itself what proves us that students really successfully use the activity. That's pretty much what I wanted to present today. Thank you very much for your attention, and that's it. Thank you also for the course.